Okay, so how my intro will go is that I'm just gonna intro it and then it's gonna go. Here to preview the second installment of this 3-game series. I'm Brian Truong alongside Dan Dempster. Welcome to Mustang Game Day. Do you just want to pick up from there, or do you want me to ask you a question?
I can just pick up from there and then preview the show.
Here, so what I'm going to say is a must-win for the Mustangs if they want to separate themselves from the pack in the Big West Conference as they look to recover from last night's loss against UC Irvine. Here to preview the second installment of a 3-game series. I'm Brian Truong alongside Dan Dempster. Welcome to Mustang Game Day.
Yeah, and then
you good from there?
We got a few guests for you. Local photographer Owen Main, who's
so you can preview the show there.
Yeah. And UC Irvine play-by-play.
Should I say Megan Healy is? Should I mention Megan as well? Or should I just go Brian and Dan, and then you can do that? You can mention Megan and the guests.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Cool.
We also have our live reporter Megan Healy out. Should I just do the toss to Megan like that?
Well, I don't think she's gonna be ready by then.
Oh, that's right.
So you can just introduce her, say who our guests are, and then we go into talking about the game.
Right. Gotcha. Sounds good.
Dan, really quick, can you talk about as loud as you think you'll get?
Huh?
Can you talk about as loud as you think you'll get on the broadcast?
Yeah, this is probably about as loud as I'll get. Okay. Nope.
Oh, I need to share it on Facebook.
We're starting.
Yeah.
Is it awkward to turn it on with 3 hands?
That's fine.
We're not going to be looking into it that much anyway.
This is a must-win for the Mustangs here at Baggett Stadium if they want to separate themselves from the pack in the Big West Conference as they look to recover from last night's loss against UC Irvine. Here to preview the second installment of this 3-game series, you're watching Mustang Game Day. I'm Brian Truong here with Dan Dempster as we're looking forward to this match.
Yeah, bro, we got a great show slated for our audience today. We got a couple of special guests. Owen Main, a local photographer. He's always at Mustang athletic events, as well as a visit from UC Irvine's play-by-play announcer. That should be pretty fun. We'll get a look at what Irvine's got. We'll also check in with our live reporter, Megan Healy. Brian, should be a fun one today, right?
Yeah, of course, Dan. As we're saying, these two teams, really neck and neck in the standings. Before last night, they were tied for second place. And after the loss, though, to the Anteaters, the Mustangs now tied for 4th in the Big West Conference. So this is a big time for the Mustangs to step up. And it really is a must-win if they want to stay in contention for second place. We are going to be checking with Megan Healy right now, who is live around Baggett Stadium.
Over the opponent's dugout, UC Irvine is getting ready. Wait, they're going live now?
Oh, we're going to be checking with her in maybe a little bit later, Dan, here, as of course, as we were saying last night, 3-1 win for UC Irvine to the Mustangs, looking to come back from that.
Yeah, it was a great pitching duel. Two great pitchers, Trent Shelton, UC Irvine's ace on the other side, Andre Palante. He did a great job. Really shut down the Mustangs. Even though Cal Poly got on the board first, they really couldn't build on that lead that well. And UC Irvine's hitting got through, but it was a close game. But the Mustangs are going to need to find that offense. They found a lot of it in the last series against Hawaii. They're going to need to bring a little bit of that mojo back if they're going to have a good game today.
As you're saying, it's close. It was also a high hitting game. I mean, 13 hits for UC Irvine, 10 hits for Cal Poly, and yet Cal Poly only able to get one run on the board there. So, I mean, that's something you have to look at.
Yeah,
sure.
A lot of innings where there's more than one runner left on base. Mustangs really got to cash in on those opportunities if they want to get ahead of UC Irvine today.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, we were talking a bit about, the standings right now in the Big West Conference. The middle 6 teams are so close right now. I mean, just a few differences. And of course, to talk a little bit more about the UC Irvine matchup, we will be looking at a few of the highlights from last night's game.
Senior shortstop Kyle Maricons made his 160th straight start, and here in the first inning, he singles for the first of his 2 hits of the game. Then here in the top of the second inning, third baseman Parker Koss singles to center field, and Nick Anderson tries to score from second base, but Alex McKenna's throw from the outfield is right on the money, and Nick Meyer makes a tag for the out to keep the game scoreless. In the bottom of the second inning with a runner on second base, Elijah Skips crushes this double to left center field. Bradley Beasley comes around to score the first run of the game as Kyle Poly takes a 1-0 lead. Irvine is able to break through in the 5th innings on this infield single to score their first run of the game to tie the game at 1. Starting pitcher Trent Shelton allowed just 2 runs over 6 innings pitched. And with the game tied at 1 in the 6th inning, the sacrifice fly by Cole Crowder scores a go-ahead run for the Anteaters. Junior center fielder Alex McKenna was dialed in at the plate. This double in the bottom of the 7th inning was one of his 3 hits of the game. Later in the same inning, catcher Nick Meyer singles to center field, and Alex McKenna tries to score the game-tying run, but he is thrown out at the plate to end the inning. Then in the top of the 9th inning, third baseman Cole Crowder singles again to extend the lead to 3-1. And in the bottom of the 9th inning, Alex McKenna flies out to end the game as Cal Poly falls to UC Irvine by the final score of 3-1.
Yeah, the Mustangs were shut down in the late innings of that matchup, and UC Irvine pulled away. We're going to try and look again with our live reporter, Megan Healy. Megan, what's happening?
I'm Megan Healy at Baggett Stadium. Check back in with me a little bit later. I'll be giving you some fun facts on the coaching staff at UC Irvine. We'll check back with you guys later. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Megan. As she was saying, I mean, UC Irvine's head coach is going to be retiring after the season, so he wants to maybe find a win against the Mustangs here. Let's see how the Mustangs can prevent that from happening here with our 3 keys going into our second game here. First key up here, keep it clean for the Mustangs.
Well, it's actually pitching efficiency.
It's actually pitching
Brian.
efficiency.
We'll get to keeping it clean in a second. But pitching efficiency, Darren Nelson, last weekend, his pitch count ran up really high. And so like any good starting pitcher, he needs to keep that pitch count low. He doesn't really pitch for strikeouts. He pitches for hits, get it in play, and get the defense rolling. So, you know,
Yeah.
don't like shy away to hum it in
and as
there.
you mentioned, I mean, Darren Nelson, he is our starting pitcher for today, the freshman 6'8" guy. He's a big guy, but he's going to be there at the
big
mound.
fella.
We'll see if he can come up big. Second key for the Mustangs here. Keep it clean.
Keeping it clean. Mustangs have been playing good, pretty much airless baseball on the defensive side. That's going to really help Darren Nelson out, especially since he kind of pitches for these batters to put it into play, make contact, let his defense do the work. So it's going to be really a huge key, one of the biggest in my mind.
Yeah, and the third key here, it is going to be the defensive decision-making for the Mustangs.
Right, you know, there's no room for hesitation. You got to make the right play. If there's multiple runners on base, hit the right play. Great middle infield duo with Scott Ogren and Cal Americans. We'll talk about them a little later with Lauren Plume. But they're going to be great. And
Yeah, so those are our three keys for the game. We have a lot more of the Mustang Game Day show coming up. We'll be right back after the break.
Staff, this man is best known as the Dean of
In this day and age, everybody gets their news from social media, and my team's pretty much in charge of making sure that Mustang News has a great presence across all social media platforms. Whether that's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Snapchat, we want to make sure that our news is reaching our audience. At Mustang News, we're truth tellers. We're student media, but we're going to do our best to tell the truth of our people and the voices of the Cal Poly campus.
Thanks for coming in for the interview.
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right, we got your personal references, your resume, high school diploma or equivalent.
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
Yes, it's right there.
Great.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hey, this job looks perfect. It says you need people skills,
Check.
driver's license,
Check.
and a high school diploma. You got one of those, right?
Skip the drama. Get your diploma.
I got that.
You are good to go.
Take that first step towards a better future. Find free adult education classes at finishyourdiploma.org.
Hello, welcome to another fresh edition of Poly Playbook.
We're serving up all the hot action, cool plays, and everything in between for Cal Poly athletics.
I'm Connor McCarthy.
I'm Nate Edelman.
I'm Brian Truong.
Poly Playbook starts now.
Who do you think will win the Super Bowl this year?
I think the Patriots are going to win.
Hi, I'm Joe Schatz, and I'm here at Spanos Stadium.
I'm Megan Healy here at Staples Center.
Myself will be taking on Sierra Highland, best pitcher in Big West softball history. Let's see how this goes.
Tune in every week to Poly Playbook, right here on Mustang.
Welcome back to Mustang Game Day. Brian Truong, Dan Dempster, and now we're joined by Owen Main, who is a local photographer here. He covers a lot of the Cal Poly, all the Cal Poly sports pretty much. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I have a blog that's been going for about, I should probably take my sunglasses off, right? I mean,
that's a good way to go.
I have a blog that's been going for about, I don't know, 5 or 8 years now, depending on kind of when you started. It's called fansmanship.com, and I started as a writer. I was a writer in college for the college paper at UC San Diego when I was an undergrad there, and was a writer in Florida when I lived there for a little bit, and kind of had the writing itch. So started the blog and was covering everything, Cal Poly stuff included. Realized that a blog without pictures is kind of just words, right? And so I bought a camera, my first camera with with my airline miles from my day job, and I bought a lens, like a 85 millimeter just prime lens, and started shooting football, basketball, and over time, you know, the money that I've been able to get from taking pictures has just gone back into gear, and over time I think I've probably shifted from doing mostly writing to more photos and other things like that.
Yeah, so we have you here. I mean, you cover what, like all the Cal Poly sports pretty much?
Yeah, I try to get to as many as I can. I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old and a wife and a day job, and so getting getting out, 3 or 4 nights a week is not always the easiest thing in the whole world. But I try to get out to a couple games a week. Locally, I go to a lot of high school stuff too, and try to cover that as well.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been writing a lot less and doing
Yeah.
a lot more photography.
Well,
but trying to do both.
Why don't we go ahead and take a look at some of the favorite photos that you sent us that we can take a look at here.
Yeah, happy to.
The first one up here, I believe this is the 2013 Blue-Green rivalry soccer game.
Yeah, it might have been 13 or 14. Maybe actually even more recent than that. That's George Malky, so I'm not sure how.
This is just, I mean, it's called one of the biggest soccer rivalries in North America. So being able to cover this, year after year, seeing the passion on these players, what's that like?
Yeah, it's great. The stadium's full, the chants are going. I think probably everybody wishes it would be like that maybe every game, but it's really cool to see a guy like Justin Dillon, who was a star freshman that was coming in. He was a top 50 national recruit, score in that game. He scored on a header there, and I'm standing right in front of the student section, and it's always a thrill as a photographer when the soccer players run towards you after they score a goal, right? It's never great when they run away from you. You're like, well, there's nothing I can really do at this point.
Yeah.
But, it's a lot of it's kind of luck and pre-positioning. In that case, Justin came right at me. You could see the guys looking at him. They like to celebrate over by that student section, so I kind of took a shot, stood there. If they score a goal, maybe they're going to get there.
Nice. Yeah, let's move on to the next photo. NCAA tournament, how awesome was it that you got to go with the team to cover it?
This is a crazy story because I had a job for my regular job. I was going to be there the day after in Kentucky, which is borders with Ohio there.
Right.
And I was going to be in northern Kentucky anyway. So I changed my flight to leave really early on that day. So instead of getting to Cincinnati at 8 at night, I got there at like 2 in the afternoon, and the game was like at like 6 or something. So I had to book it from the Cincinnati airport to Dayton, where they played that game. That was the game they won against, I think, Texas Southern in Dayton. That was Chris Eversley, the star of that team. The reason why I added that one was Chris's smile was always something, and his joy on the court was always something that I really loved watching. And there were a few photos from that game that really exemplified that. He was the heart of that team, and I don't know that the basketball teams had anything quite like Chris Eversley from just a personality and dominant and positive personality standpoint. He's really a one-of-a-kind guy.
Yeah, of course, being able to capture some really cool action shots here. This next one that we're about to see, I believe one of the slow blues players breaking his bat on the swing.
Yeah, this is really I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again. That's the first year I took photos for the Blues, probably like 2013 or 14 again. And I usually try to take like one shot when somebody's swinging, and I try to time it on my camera. And in this case, it was a one-shot thing. I timed it right, and I looked at it and went like, I don't know if I'll ever get something like this again. It's actually like slightly out of focus. It was with an old camera and an old thing, but I'm like, this is I'm never gonna do this again.
Yeah.
And for 4 years since then, I've tried to recreate it because it's a wood bat league. Every pitch is a potential broken bat, so it's like I guess incentive to take a photo on every darn pitch, and I've ended up taking way more photos than I wanted at the end of a lot of games trying to replicate that shot.
Yeah, awesome shot. That was great.
Yeah,
next photo, Cal Poly football.
Yeah, these are two guys that, if you're a Cal Poly fan, you might recognize. These are the DeZubnar brothers. That's Nick DeZubnar on the right, currently with the Chargers, and his brother Colin was playing defensive end at the same time. So, when I think about this picture, and I've been able to interact with the family a little bit, during the time that they were there. Nick's obviously one of the only Cal Poly guys in the NFL right now. Just a super great guy. And if you're thinking about, why do brothers come and play on the same team? This is the reason, right? It's after a win. This was a great football team, a team that that competed for Big Sky championships for a number of years in a row with guys like DeZubnar and Onko, Johnny Millard, Kenneth Jackson before him. I'm sure I'm leaving out about 3 or 4 guys, but the idea that playing with your brother and then being able to capture that shot, I was pretty pleased with that one, just because of the emotion that comes along with that. I can't imagine playing on the same college team as my brother and celebrating after a win.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for your thoughts here, covering the Mustangs. Have a great game. Maybe you'll get another broken bat today as Cal Poly taking on UC Irvine. We'll be right back after a quick break. Thanks again, Owen.
Yeah, check out fansmanship.com if you haven't. Thanks.
Sports is mostly good news, and a lot of the time, a lot of the other news we get isn't necessarily good news. And so I think that it's kind of a nice break from a lot of the other not so great things that might be happening around the community and on campus. I think that good journalism is objective and informative. It is as unbiased as possible. And I think that Mustang News does a really good job of that, reporting about the incidents on campus without necessarily putting a spin on them.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at It's On Us.
Welcome back to Mustang Game Day here as we're taking a live look into Baggett Stadium. Megan Healy is live inside the stadium for a preview on this game.
Guys, I'm in the stands at Baggett Stadium. Over my shoulder, you can see the opponent's dugout. The UC Irvine team is preparing to take on Cal Poly for that second game of the series. A little bit about the coaching staff. This man is known as the Dean of Big West Baseball Coaches. Head coach for UC Irvine, Mike Gillespie, will be retiring at the end of this year. The 5 out of the 11 seasons he's been with the Anteaters, he successfully took the team to postseason play, including the 2014 College World Series Championship. And a fun fact, you guys, his grandson is actually on the team. Cole Kruder is a second baseman for the Anteaters. But Gillespie is best known for taking his alma mater, USC, to the 1998 College World Series Championship. And he's one of 2 men to both play for and coach a championship team like that. So at the age of 78 years old, Mike Gillespie will call it a career and a successful one at that. I'm Megan Healy reporting at Baggett Stadium. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Megan. We'll learn a little bit more about UC Irvine when we have their play-by-play announcer come on the show. Let's learn a little bit more about some Cal Poly Mustangs. Lauren Plume walked the bases with pitcher Cam Schneider earlier this week. Let's take a listen.
Hi, this is Lauren Plume here with Walk the Bases. I'm here with right-handed pitcher junior Cam Schneider. How are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing.
All right, let's get this thing going. So how do you feel about your performance so far this season?
Individually or the team?
Just individually and the team.
Individually, I feel like I've been doing okay. The last couple games have been doing what I should have, but as far as a team, like we've been hitting conference pretty good. We won 5 out of our last 6, so we'll take that as a good note heading into tomorrow and this weekend.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about this weekend in Hawaii. It took 2 of 3 games against one of the top teams in the conference. How did that feel?
Oh, it felt really good. Not only were we able to do that, but we were also able to have some fun there too. It would have been nice to get that 3rd game, but you know, not every day is yours, so we'll take the small victories.
All right, do you have any pregame rituals?
Nothing too crazy, but I am the aux guy, so I like to get everyone fired up and play some bangers, so that's my thing.
All right, tell me about your walkout songs.
My walkout songs, so since I like this song so much, Friday, Saturday I have Heads Will Roll by A-Track, and so that gets the crowd fired up, me fired up. And then Sunday I have Paradise City by Guns N' Roses, so I mean, either way I'm getting pretty fired up when I'm on the mound, so.
All right, tell me a bit about how it feels to not be the only 6'8" guy on the team anymore.
Oh, it's amazing. We all, instead of me getting picked on, we pick on him, so it's been pretty nice. And I don't have to be the one reaching for everyone. I can get some help out.
All right, so you guys, when you go on the road, you guys bring a monitor along to play Fortnite. Who got that tradition started?
That was me. And our bus rides, they'd be a couple hours long, so, you know, why not pass the time to play some video games on the bus and on the road trip.
All right, and then as we're coming into home here, who's your best friend on the team?
For sure, not Nick Meyer. It's Michael Clark.
It's Michael Clark. All right, well, that has been Walk the Bases with Cam Schneider. Thank you so much, and join us for game day this weekend, Saturday.
Great to get some insights of the players, and after the break, we'll be having some of the thoughts from UC Irvine's longtime broadcaster, Mark Roberts, and he'll have a lot of information as we preview Cal Poly versus UC Irvine. We'll be right back after the break on Mustang Game Day.
A team of MMJs, multimedia journalists, who cover all news on campus, from administration to student life to any protests that happen on campus. We really just have our finger on the pulse of Cal Poly. Journalism is reporting on the facts at all times because we have to, regardless of whether or not people may disagree.
The inherent right to work is one of the elemental privileges of a free people. Endowed, as our nation is, with abundant physical resources, and inspired as it should be to make those resources and opportunities available for the enjoyment of all, we approach re-employment with the real hope of finding a better answer than we have now.
Donate to Goodwill, where your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community. Of all the things you've done with your bike, donating it to Goodwill may be the most incredible of all. Your donations help fund job placement and training for people in your community, which means your stuff can be more powerful than you think. Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
I never felt all that special. But in the wake of an earthquake, we can all do something. When donating goods, it's hard to know what's needed. So now it's my turn to help. Aid workers can spend me locally, where I can help save lives. Someone is doing better because of me. Together, we made that happen.
Welcome back to Mustang Game Day as we're previewing the matchup between Cal Poly and UC Irvine. And here to talk a little bit more about UC Irvine, Mark Roberts, the play-by-play broadcaster for the Anteaters. How's it going?
Well, it's going great. I want to thank you guys for having me on, and understand you're doing a great job. So this is fun for me. I used to do TV. They kicked me out of that years ago, so I get a chance to make a comeback.
Yeah, well, we know that you've been with the Anteaters for quite a while, starting back in the 1990s. So
Yes.
tell us, how did you get your start here for the Anteaters?
You know what? I had worked in a league called the Continental Basketball Association, which in those years was the NBA DL. A lot of the future, Phil Jackson was the coach in that league when I was there. And I worked in Pensacola, Florida, Birmingham, Alabama. I didn't want to live there, no offense to anybody. And those jobs, you move around when you're in the pros, and they go defunct real quick. Long story short, I sent tapes for 3 years to UC Irvine, Fullerton, Long Beach State, which is where I lived and grew up.
Yeah.
And eventually Bob Olson had liked my work, and there was finally an opening, and I competed with about 10 other guys and got the job. And I've been at Irvine for 24 years, and I got lucky. And you know, once you're with a family, once you're with a university and a group of people in athletics and coaches, it really becomes addicting. And you build a legacy, and you build trust of people, and you know, you can reach back and tell stories. So it's been a really good gig.
Awesome. So bringing it back to baseball,
Sure,
this series.
yes, absolutely.
UC Irvine and Cal Poly, kind of similar records in conference.
They are.
Just one game separation. What are your takeaways from last night's game? Some strong pitching in that one.
Well, you know, Cal Poly's a good team, and they're a dangerous team. You guys have a long lineup. As the year has progressed, our lineup has been long as far as threats. When I say a long lineup, where 1 through 9 is capable of hurting you. last night was a 3-1 game, so you say, hey, it's a pitcher's duel. But 23 hits, all kinds of runners left on base. So it was fascinating because of all the possibilities that could have happened. Very few produced runs, but you had a couple of guys thrown out at the plate. You had a caught stealing or two, and for us, we were lucky and got hits at the right time. I've always been impressed by Larry Lee. Larry Lee's a big-time coach. Our coach is retiring at the end of the year, Michael Espy. You should have him on. He is the best interview I've ever had, and I've done this a long time. And he loves Larry and respects the hell out of him. And Mike is in the College Baseball Hall of Fame. He's one of 2 men ever in the history of college baseball to win a national championship as a player and as a head coach. And he did it at the same school, his alma mater, USC. So I've learned a lot from him, but we have always thought that Cal Poly really runs a great program, a clean program, a very competitive program. And so look, UCI has to run the table to maybe make the postseason as an at-large bid with 36 wins. Cal Poly has to win every game now. They have to finish second, and they have to go 16-8 in league. If you guys do that, you win 9 of your last 10. The committee looks very closely at the last 10 games for baseball as they do with basketball. And so if you win 9 of your last 10 or so in your own conference, you're above 500, you may have a shot of getting in. For us, it's a little better shot because our overall record's a little better than yours, but we got our hands full tonight. I mean, I'm hoping we sweep you. I doubt it, but I'm hoping that because we have to.
Yeah, I was thinking we would have to as well coming into the series, but
well, I think if you win your final this 8-game homestand, so you win your final 8 conference games, beat Pepperdine on Tuesday, you'd have a shot. But it would still be a shot. And because our overall record's a little better, if we did it, maybe we have a slightly better shot.
Right. You mentioned Larry Lee has had a long tenure.
Oh, 16 years here.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of mentioned it. It's like that tight-knit family kind of community.
Yes,
do you think do you think that happens more with baseball than any other sport?
I think it does a little more. I'll tell you why. I've done all 3 sports: football, basketball, baseball. I love them all. But in college baseball, for example, there's not quite the money that's poured into it at the collegiate level as there is in the big leagues. Football is the biggest breadwinner for collegiate sports. Basketball follows behind it. So you don't have the alumni and all the people that don't know what the heck they're talking about pressuring these guys who really do know what they're doing. And so I think coaches are given a little longer leash, although anymore in collegiate athletics, as we know, the leash gets shorter everywhere you go. It's shorter, I'm sure, in water polo than it once was. But yeah, I think you have the better chance for a longer tenure, a chance to mesh better, and for me, it's more fun.
Yeah, so we're going to winding down here. So Cal Poly, of course, taking on UC Irvine. What are your keys here for the games, maybe for the Irvine
Well,
team?
okay, the next 2 days, it's going to be pitching. It was last night too, but tell you why today. You have 2 freshmen. We're now going with Trenton Denholm, a last-minute change, a freshman today. You're throwing a freshman. These guys are really talented, but they're up and down, both of them, if you look at their numbers, freshman year. The bullpens for Cal Poly and Irvine are not their strength. They have 1 or 2 good arms down there. After that, it gets shaky. So which one of these guys can give their respective teams 6-7 innings today and keep it a short bullpen? If you go deep into it, Cal Poly hits well enough that I think they'll burn our guys. Conversely, if UCI can get Nelson out of the game after 4 or 5 innings, I think we can get to a guy or 2 in your pen. So I think the starting pitching, I think both teams will hit. Both teams catch the ball reasonably well, but it'll be the starting pitching.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for joining us here on Mustang Game Day.
It's a pleasure.
Have a great rest of the season for you guys, however far you guys go.
Yeah, right. We'll see you guys down the road. Thanks again.
Yeah. All right, we'll be right back with more Mustang Game Day after the break.
So I'm in charge of making sure that the paper is distributed every Tuesday morning because that's when the new editions come out. I think my job, the most important thing with my job is that it gets the papers out there for them to actually read. Without my position and my guys, my delivery drivers and my brand ambassadors, the papers would not be seen every week on campus, essentially.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
They said a bottle was just a bottle. That no one would ever notice me. But I knew I could be more. That one day, I would make people smile.
Welcome back to Mustang Game Day as Cal Poly ready to take on UC Irvine. Just a little bit under half an hour until that starting pitch, and that means it's time for some Plume's predictions. All right, welcoming Lauren Plume here to Mustang Game Day, the student social media assistant,
manager?
something like that. Yeah,
Like that.
you do a lot of things.
Do a lot.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about, of course, Cal Poly taking on UC Irvine. Just general impressions going into the second game here.
Okay, so last night was a hard game for us. Got a lot of hits, not a lot of runs. Pretty solid pitching game, pretty solid defensive game, but just didn't capitalize where we need to. And Irvine was a team we needed to beat, and it's going to be rough going into this coming off a loss, but we need to come back and bounce back for this game.
Yeah, Darren Nelson is starting pitcher. Mark Roberts was saying pitching is probably one of his keys. What are your predictions for Darren's game today?
So tonight, pitching efficiency is huge for us because as we've talked about with Darren like the last few times, Darren isn't a strikeout guy, and because of that, he ends up having a 3-2 count a lot, and he has guys fouling him off. And against Hawaii, really got into the fourth inning and got deep into his pitch count. Like we're talking 80 to 90 pitches in the fourth inning. So he really needs to capitalize and get guys to swing early and get those get the ball in play early to get those outs at lower counts, like 0-1, 1-0.
Yeah, we've got a few guys on the screen that you can talk about here. Ogren, McKenna, Beasley, Marincons. Take your pick here, Lauren.
All right, so let's talk about Ogren Marincons. So actually tonight we have a little bit of a lineup change. Marincons got hit in the foot last night with a foul ball, so he will be playing DH today. But generally in the middle infield defensive positions, those are two really strong players. But more on the offensive side, since Marincons is DH tonight, both Ogren and Marincons are low in the batting average of our starting players. They're at the bottom, like two of the bottom players. They have just shy of 300. They're under like 295 or something like that. And both of them have almost the most RBIs on the team. So they are the type of players that come in with guys on base and get hits. And that's what we need tonight. So that's what we're looking for from them today.
Yeah, and one of those guys that's going to be getting on base is going to be Alex McKenna, of course, top of the batting order for the Mustangs. He's getting on base about pretty much half the time that he's at bat, so just keys for him coming into this game.
Alex just needs to keep doing what he's doing in the outfield and at the plate, because as we saw last night, the guy has an arm. I wish we had a video of it because he literally just gunned down a guy at home from some pretty deep center field, and he's crucial for us in center field. The routes he takes are always, he knows what he's doing, he knows what he's trying to do with the ball, and the other outfielders need to follow his lead in that situation. At the plate though, I think we just forget about Alex McKenna because you're like, he just does what he does. Like that's what he just goes up there and you don't have to worry about it because he's gonna get the job done.
Defensive decision making, you alluded to it, Alex makes some great plays out there in the outfield. How do you think the rest of the team kind of matches up? Do you think they can meet the challenge of
Yeah, so the issues we're seeing a little bit are coming in left and right field with making the wrong route decision, I think, is what's going on. They're not falling for errors, they're not dropping the ball, but they're not getting to the balls that they should be getting to. We're lucky in right field because Bradley, he's like such a good arm. If he misses the ball, he can still throw the guy out at home or at third. He does it all the time. I think he's probably got like 5 guys at third or home this year, which is really impressive. But we don't want to have to rely on getting that throw. We want to catch the ball in the first place. So that's definitely, they need to follow Alex's lead when it comes to that, I think.
So yeah, just judging that ball once it comes off the bat, that's one of the biggest skills for an outfielder to really have.
Yeah.
Elsewhere on the field, on the infield, who's taking Maricon's spot?
So we're seeing a shift. So Tate Samuelson is moving to third base. Elijah Skips is moving to first base. And we have Nick DiCarlo moving to shortstop.
Okay.
So he's a freshman coming in kind of in.
He's made some great grabs.
Yeah, he's made some great grabs, really. So it's going to be a test for him for sure, just because he's kind of been in and out of the third base position. It's been between him and a couple other guys. But I think he can come in and really, stand up to the challenge.
Yeah. We've been talking, of course, about how this kind of is a must-win game. I mean, the must-win series for the Mustangs if they want to stay at the top of the Big West standings, because that middle 6 of the Big West is so close. Just your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was actually funny because I was talking to Chris Sylvester about this tonight. He was saying something about Long Beach, like all of a sudden, he's like, oh yeah, they're even with us. And I'm like, when did that happen? They were like second to last 2 days ago, but that's how close the Big West is right now. I mean, Fullerton is way ahead. That's really what it comes down to. We need them to lose all of their games, and we need to win all of our games, really. It's what it comes down to.
If only that could possibly happen.
Yeah.
So also going into this game, Dan, any more thoughts for Lauren here?
I don't know. I think we touched on a lot of it.
We can take a look at, maybe more in depth on some of the players that we want to look at. Anyone that you want to particularly look at their stats on the screen here.
I'm going to go back to Kyle Marincons. I know he's DHing today, and I think it's so cool about Kyle Marincons is he played his 160th straight start last night. And that is second in Cal Poly history. The current record is Jimmy Allen with 183 straight starts, but that's because Jimmy played into his senior year. Kyle started day 1. First game, freshman year, he was our starter, and he hasn't missed a game since. And tonight, they were gonna, maybe have to take him out of the lineup because he's not feeling well. Nope, he's playing DH, he's still our starter. So he's at 161 now. So that's, that's awesome. And so Kyle, it's good to just have him here. He's a leader. He's still in the 2 spot. We haven't mixed up the batting order at all. So he's still coming in to do his job.
That's Cal Poly's Cal Ripken Jr. right there, pretty much.
All right, so before you head out, your final prediction here before we head on over.
Let's go. This is going to be a higher run scoring game, I think. So I'm going to say 7-3 Cal Poly.
All right, well, you heard it here. Lauren Plume, thanks for joining us once again for another edition of Plume's Predictions. We'll be right back with our final thoughts here as Cal Poly getting ready to take on UC Irvine. You're watching Mustang Game Day. Don't go anywhere.
The thing about broadcast is it's not just on paper, so now you're actually seeing people's emotions and their reactions, and I think you just really learn a lot by being able to go face to face and also have a camera and capture those emotions. And broadcast is so fun in my opinion because you can take what you see and show it to your audience and show them exactly what you're witnessing or other people are witnessing at the moment.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
You make me wear my bike helmet. You taught me never to run with scissors. And to follow the swimming rules.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. Remember, always lock it up. Visit ncpc.org.
They'll test you.
try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Welcome back here to Mustang Game Day as we take a look at Baggett Stadium. Cal Poly getting ready to take on UC Irvine for, once again, the second installment of a 3-game series. Brian Truong here alongside Dan Dempster, and our final thoughts going into this matchup here. We've heard a lot from the broadcaster here for UC Irvine. We've heard from Lauren Plume. Once again, let's go take a look over at our 3 keys here.
Yeah, 3 keys. First thing, pitching efficiency. I think Mark Roberts touched on it. I think an important point that I want to reiterate that he said, it's going to be really important. Whoever can get their bullpen into, whoever can put the least amount of pressure on their bullpen will probably win this game. Both of these teams' bullpens, not the best, not too deep. So it's important for these starting pitchers. Darren Nelson, he's going to have to find a way to get into that 6th, 7th, maybe even the 8th inning. It's going to be really key. Keep his pitch count down. You know, get batters swinging early in the count and putting it in play.
Yeah, and as you know, we were looking at, I mean, it's both 2 freshman starting pitchers here for Cal Poly and UC Irvine, so it is going to be a duel between those 2 to see how it goes. And Lauren Plume did touch on how, you know, this may be a bit of a higher scoring matchup because there were a lot of hits, 23 hits last game, but only 4 runs on the board. This game, maybe a little bit more as we get into our second game of the series.
Yeah, it could really come down to the bullpen. Looking back, key number 2, keeping it clean. We've been playing good defensive baseball so far. Like we said, Darren Nelson likes to pitch to contact. He's got to put, the ball's got to be put in play way more than it does with Trent Shelton, Cal Poly's Friday starter. So Cal Poly is going to have to continue that good defense. Nick DiCarlo, as we mentioned, in there at shortstop for Cal Marincons. I think that'll be an important thing to watch. That middle infield duo really keeps Cal Poly going on defense.
We'll have to see how it changes up and if they can keep playing just low error baseball here. It's really important, especially going into this final stretch of the season here where we're seeing teams so close in the standings. And, you know, as we're seeing, this match is such a pivotal one. That's what we want to see. So, I mean, you talk about keeping it clean. This kind of goes hand in hand with our 3rd key of the game here, which is the defensive decision-making for the Mustangs.
Yeah, all these keys are defensive keys. It's going to be a huge defensive game. Ball is going to be put in play a lot. These outfielders are going to have to make good judgments on, once that ball leaves the bat. Make sure they take good routes to those balls. On the infield, DiCarlo and Ogren, they usually make great double play opportunities. Just knowing when or when not to turn that double play, and that's going to be really important.
Yeah. So, of course, as we're looking forward more into this game, I mean, we should, maybe take a minute to thank some of the guys that are working so hard behind the scenes here for Mustang Game Day. I mean, you see us on camera, you see Megan Healy on camera, but as you can see right here, a lot of people working behind the scenes here for Mustang Game Day, making this show happen.
Yeah, Brad, we're a very small part of this show. We'd like to give a big shout out to everybody.
Yeah, and this doesn't even mention all the people working to create content as well. I mean, the highlights, all the B-roll, the walk, the bases that we have going on, just making our job so much easier because we have some great content to talk about here. So, I mean, we're getting closer. I mean, we're hearing the PA announcer behind us here at Baggett Stadium. Cal Poly, we're going to keep calling it it really is a pivotal match here to keep staying in the standings, keep it competitive.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to be a close one. So, without further ado, let's go see this ball game.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us here on this edition of Mustang Game Day. Brian Truong, Dan Dempster. We'll be seeing you next week.